Banu lachan mitachat lashamayim. It is truly a joy for Rachel and me that we have come together and that our different worlds of friends and family and fellow students and teachers and colleagues have converged so magnificently today that you stand here with us in celebration of and gratitude for this soul which has entered our lives. Your mother and I invited you into our lives for a long time, but you didn't come. Or at least we couldn't recognize you anywhere in this world. And then after waiting and working and consulting to make you a reality, our lives were jolted somewhat about 2.5 months ago, when it looked as if you might join us too soon. One morning your big brother Eli was lying in bed with us, and he announced, the baby is going to be Moshiach. The Messiah. And your mother and I looked at each other in total shock. Firstly, we generally don't use that kind of language in our life. And secondly, it alarmed us, it truly alarmed us, because we suddenly realized that our tradition teaches us that the prophet Elijah is indeed alleged to portend the arrival of the Messiah. We shared this information with some friends, and Sue Fendrick said to us, I've never prepared for the arrival of the Messiah. I mean, I'm always preparing, but what does one wear? Our concern was more, what on earth does one do for the Mashiach's 4th birthday party? And now that you are with us, we still don't know who you're going to be. While that mystery is part of what makes this miracle of life so precious, and despite not having all the answers, we as parents are still obliged to give you a name, to determine what people will call you, to align your identity to the outside world with values and attributes that have meaning for us, even though we barely know you. When Eli was born, it was really important for us to see in his new life a vessel for the memories we hold dear, and to find a way to express with his name and with his future a link that we build to the past, that through him the memory and the legacy of our mothers, your grandmothers, could live on. Well, today we've been blessed with the second opportunity to name a child. And so we call you Nadav, as we are moved and guided this time by the inspiration of our fathers, your grandfathers, who we thank God are very much with us. Nadav means generous, and while neither one of your grandfathers is named Nadav, this is how the world knows them. Generous is what the world calls them. Rabbi Shimon Omer, 30 chatarim hen, keter Torah, v'keter kahuna, v'keter malchut, v'keter Shem Tov oneh al gabeihen. Rabbi Shimon said, there are 3 crowns: the crown of Torah, the crown of priesthood, and the crown of kingship. But the crown of a good name is greater than all of them. Whether it means being involved in their communities, or bringing opportunities to those in need, or recognizing the dignity and sanctity of each individual they encounter, or delighting in sharing the joy of others, or the sacrifices they are willing to make for their families and their loved ones. Nedivut, generosity, is the value by which your grandfathers lived their lives, and at risk of imposing our expectations on you. We can think of no greater blessing to give you than to inspire you to walk in their paths. For you have come into a world that offers so many opportunities to bring forth generosity, to bring holiness and joy. Ze hayom asa Hashem, nagila v'nismacha bo. That's not simpler.
So much for imposing your expectations.
Defiance begins at day 8. This is the day, this is the life that HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the Holy Blessed One, has given us to explore. Let us seek out and pursue the opportunities for rejoicing and finding holiness in it.
Amen. So I didn't write my notes because I'm not becoming a rabbi, and I was sleeping last night. So the middle name, I prepared this in the shower this morning. Let's see if I can remember. Is from my grandfather David, who was also a very generous person, and a mensch of all menches. There was no one as kind and non-judgmental as my puppy, with the exception of don't trust any man who doesn't wear socks. That was no, his. But my grandfather, you'd think he lived next door, which he lived about 90 miles away because he was always around, which was really nice. He never missed a beat, ever. He could have written the manual on how to be a good grandfather, and he was devoted to his family beyond anyone I ever knew, and his community, his Jewish community. He knew how to pick a good cantaloupe. He was very into fruit. And I will say this, that he was devoted, but he also was a rule breaker, which I think is a nice, you should never follow the rules exactly.
Say that
you shouldn't be so straight and narrow. You should break the rules a little and be generous and kind. So I think it's
Amen.
The bracha I want to give you, which feels a little bounced. The bracha I want to give is based on a beautiful Sfat Emet teaching on your. Okay, he's clearly taken to heart your guidance already. Okay, I promise. Which I learned indirectly from our teacher, Rabbi Nehemiah Cohen. This is on this past week's Parsha Vayetze, which begins Vayetze Yaakov Miber Shava. Yaakov went out, and The Talmud, of course, says on this passage that Yaakov was in this moment, that he was in flight, that he left home, and evening fell, and he came upon this place where he laid down and dreamed. That it was in that moment of evening that he tiken tfilat arvit, that he established the evening prayer. And the Sfat Emet says, playing on that word tiken, established, says that this was a tikkun. This was a remedy that Yaakov really left for us, bequeathed to us. That in all of our wanderings, in all of our journeys, in all of our leavings and our comings and our goings, we should have a way through words and through prayer to create meaning for ourselves and to create a bayit and a binyan, to create a sense of home and of place and belonging that we can carry with us wherever we are. And he goes on to say that there are some places where this is easier to do and some places where this is harder to do. There's some places where there's hitgalut yoter, there's greater revelation manifest, and there are other places where it's a little bit be'irbuv, play on arvit, be'irbuv of a hyster, where it's a little bit mixed up and hidden. And so my bracha for you is that everywhere you go, in all the places that you find yourself, in places where there's hitgalut yoter, where there's greater revelation, and places where there's a little bit of yerbuv and hester, a little bit of confusion and hiddenness, that you will be able to make for yourself and carry with yourself a sense of bait, a sense of home, that your amazing parents have already begun to give you. You'll take that with you wherever you go. Amen. יברכך אדוני וישמרך, יאר אדוני פניו אליך ויחונך, יישא אדוני פניו אליך וישם לך שלום.